Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignons, and of course, the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes, the biggest I've ever seen, and certainly the best I've ever had. Hell, same thing with those Angus and Wagyu burgers. They're all USDA prime, the best in the business that I've ever had. Wait till you check them out. Give them a call, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome into everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, right here in Las Vegas, KQQY, as well as our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY, over in Honolulu on KHKA, CBS Sports 1500, and all of our other affiliates from coast to coast, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, over in Auburn, Alabama, and many, many others, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, WOW Cable Television, Time Warner Cable Television as well, and Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. We are here with our boxing analyst and expert, and that would be International Boxing Hall of Famer, the referee, Joe Cortez.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Look at Joe is sitting in this. Joe is sitting in this incredible chair. Joe, tell everybody about the chair that they're looking at.
Well, the chair behind me has a little history in my little museum here, my gym museum. This chair was used when we were doing Mayweather and Miguel Cotto fight, and they had two chairs like this up on the stage at the MGM Hotel, and they got to a little scuffle. The trainers did. And one of the chairs fell off the stage, and they cracked in the back. So my friend who leased out these chairs to the MGM Hotel called me up and said, Joe, I got this chair that was used for this event, for the promotion for Mayweather Cotto, and it get broken. I had to fix it, but you know what? I don't want to rent it out like this anymore. And it looks like brand new. So I went and looked at it. He said, you can have it, Joe, it's yours. So I got it here in my gym, and I use it for my own promo stuff here in my ring. People have to sit in my ring, in my chair, and feel like they're the king.
Joe, that is an incredible chair. And then you've got some gloves on top of it. And by the way, folks, in case you don't know, in case you've been living under a rock, the International Boxing Hall of Famer Joe Cortez has his own program as well. And this is a nice slice of it here on the Sports Circus. We have the Joe Cortez Show and, of course, Fair But Firm right here on the circus. Joe, tell everybody about the programs.
Well, my Fair But Firm show, I do it in... We're doing like today in my show, and we talk about boxing, we talk about different things. But, you know, you ask me all kinds of questions I want to share to the fans about what I do with the Fair But Firm show. And on Friday, with my co-host, Susan Pratt, we do the Joe Cortez show. And that's all, you know, coast to coast. Everybody gets to watch it worldwide on FaceTime and on YouTube channel. There's the Joe Cortez show. Tune in on that. But and our YouTube channel is so important. You watch our shows on a weekly basis, talk about all topics with boxing or just anything in life in general.
That's good stuff, Joe. And so, hey, let's face it, that always deserves an astounding round of applause. And of course, you do it from right there in your incredible museum. It's the ultimate man cave, is it not?
It is. It's my own man cave here. And it's like my museum here. We're inside of a boxing ring right here, right now. And I kind of really enjoy coming here, working out a little bit. I have my own little studio here as well. So I have a lot of fun here.
Joe, I took a tour of that, and every time you're on the program, I'm going to talk about it because this is something everybody should see, or frankly, everybody should have, whether it's a man cave or a she shack or whatever the hell it is. This is as good as it possibly gets.
You know what? Let me get the viewers a quick little view right here.
Okay. Look at this, folks. Look at this. If you're watching this, whether on Instagram or whatever, this is unbelievable just with the pictures and all the items in there. And, God, there's so much history in this place. It's unbelievable, folks. If you're missing this, if you're listening on radio only, switch over to the video side and you can watch this. Hey, there I see a Purdue Boilermaker up on the wall there. Number 2. Look at that. There's Joe with...
That's the inductee, 2011.
Mercy.
National Veterans Ring, Julio Cesar Chavez, Mike Tyson, Costa Zoo, Sylvester Stallone, and myself.
That's unbelievable, Joe. That's incredible stuff.
And my grandson there, Bryce Hampton, who plays for Purdue University.
Yes!
Purdue, you went there. You graduated from there yourself, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A proud Purdue alum. Absolutely. What an incredible... And you have a full-size ring in this incredible upper... There's an upper deck there. There's a regular booth. Folks, you could literally spend a week in this place and see so much. And it's better than any boxing Hall of Fame I've ever been to. It's unbelievable. And, of course, you could see this on the Fair But Firm show, Joe Cortez show as well. When you check him out, I think it's on Fridays on YouTube, is it not?
That's correct.
That's right. Boy,
Every
that's good
Friday
stuff.
you see on the YouTube channel.
Right? And we air
Joe
this on
Cortez
Wednesdays on the Sports Circus every Wednesday, so we get a nice dose of boxing. And again, here's this incredible chair in case you're missing it. So, Joe, you're in this incredible man cave. You've had everybody under the sun in there that actually matters. Somehow I snuck my way in there. I'm not really sure how you invited me in there, but, you know, at the same time, I kind of feel honored to be in there, if you know what I mean.
Well, let me tell you, we want to tell our fans out there, with the Fair But Firm show, the information I want to give you guys, is yesterday's 30-year anniversary, Julio Cesar Chavez, when he fought Greg Haugen with 135,000 fans. The Stadium Azteca, Mexico City. It was a hell of the largest crowd boxing in history. They had 135,000 fans. Can you imagine that? That's a lot. But when I go see my grandson play football, got 70,000 fans at the stadium. That's a lot. I told my grandson, we had twice the amount of that when I did the Chavez Haugen fight. You know,
That's unbelievable.
It's just unbelievable. That's 30 years ago. So it's the 30-year anniversary, and I can tell you that. It was an honor for me to be in the referee for that fight. The Greg Haugen kept telling Chavez, you beat a bunch of Tijuana taxi drivers. And Chavez got so upset. He said, I'm going to get you. I'm going to kick your ass in that ring, you know. When he got into that ring that day, the first round he had Haugen down.
Right.
And then he could have stopped him if he wanted to in that first round. But he wanted to punish him. So he kept punishing him for about 4 more rounds. And eventually he got dropped again in the 5th round. He got up, and I got so close to the action. If Chavez was pounding at him, and I jumped in and stopped, and that was it. 135,000 fans all cheering for Chavez. I think only 1 or 2 people rooting for Haugen, and that was his cornerman.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. But, you know, Joe, listen.
And, of course, I also want to tell the fans out there that I started boxing as in 1955. I met a fighter by the name of Gaspar Adrian Ortega, who came into New York. He's from Tijuana, came to New York. When I was 12 years old, I got to meet Gaspar Ortega, and that was the beginning of how I got introduced to boxing. And Gaspar got me on the right track. And when I was 16 years old, I started boxing. When I was 15, I started working out. When I was 16, along with my brother Mike, we won our first Golden Glove championship when I was 16 years old. My brother Mike was 17. And then I won several more championships that year. I won a total, by the time I was 17, winning the Easterns and the Nationals, the Open Division, everything. By the age of 17, I was already at 6 Golden Glove championships under my belt. It was a great honor being involved with boxing at that level. And I just think that I like to see our young folks to get out there, get more involved with boxing or any sport. There's too many crimes going on in the cities today, all over the country, more now than ever. I don't know why, but it seems to be more crime going on. I like to see these kids getting more involved. That's what kept me out of trouble when I got involved with boxing. I stayed off of drugs, and no drinking, no smoking. You learn a lot of discipline when you get into the sport, like in boxing. Just like my grandson, Bryce Hampton, who's with Purdue University, he got into football. He wanted to go boxing. I said, no, you don't do boxing. So he chose football. And then he's an outstanding player with Purdue University. I'm very proud of him.
That's good stuff. Joe, in our last minute or so, I want to mention something here, and this is more of a public service kind of a thing, because I'm involved with a nonprofit. I'm on the board for a nonprofit organization here that helps at-risk youth. You know, we talk about getting kids off the street and stuff like that. There's a local nonprofit in the Las Vegas Valley. It's called the Healing Hearts Movement. They do a lot for the community. They feed the at-risk youth. They feed the homeless. and they get them on the right track. It's really good stuff. And look, I get nothing for saying this. It's just something that I'm trying to find a way to give back on my own. I did the same thing in Los Angeles, the same thing in Chicago. I'm doing the same thing here in the greater Vegas Valley. And Joe, I'd like to see at some point, maybe we can get the Joe Cortez show and Fair But Firm, maybe get something together with the Healing Hearts movement and do something for the greater good. Get those kids something to think about over and above maybe doing things that could put a quick buck in their pocket, but merely put their lives at risk. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I truly believe that these kids need programs out there. They got the Police Athletic League here in Las Vegas. And they got other associations where the kids get involved. But I'd like to see it happen on a regular basis.
Absolutely. Joe, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And of course, folks, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes with International Boxing Hall of Fame referee, and that would be the great Joe Cortez. In case you were living under a rock, trust me, you've seen this guy on television. You've seen him everywhere. Very popular guy. And look, he sits in a throne here on the circus. Back in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus with Joe Cortez and the Faber Firm Show here in Las Vegas, the entertainment and the boxing capital of the world. You know that boxing is really going through the roof right now. A lot of big fights coming up. You got Devontae Davis fighting Ryan Garcia coming up soon. But it's nothing like the good old days back in the days when I started refereeing, the glory days when you had great heavyweights out there, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Roy Jones Jr., so many great fighters. You got Julio Cesar Chavez, Pernell Whitaker. You had the Sugar Ray Leonard. You get Marvin Hagler. You have so many great fighters in that weight class that people say, well, boxing is not the same like it was back in the old days. But you know, back in different generations, you have different group of fighters. And I remember, you had Hagler, you had Leonard, you had Roberto Duran. I mean, you had these great fighters that it was just great to see those fighters, and Roy Jones Jr. and Vinny Pazienza, Floyd Patterson, Rocky Marciano, all the great ones. But here we are today. It's a different era, different time. You have new talent. Just like referees, you had the great Arthur McCanty. When he stepped down, I kind of stepped into the picture. And, there's great referees out in the past, but not many referees have made it to the Hall of Fame. I remember me fighting in boxing. I got in the amateurs back in 1960 in the amateurs. And then I returned pro in 1963. And here we are now in 2023. A lot of years gone by. A lot of people around us, including yourself, probably weren't even born when I was knocking out men in Madison Square Garden. You guys weren't even born yet.
Probably.
And here we are now. I still got a little spark of the old flesh, buddy.
Well, obviously you do, Joe. And folks, in case you're just tuning in, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee Joe Cortez, the great Joe Cortez, sitting in probably the best chair I've ever seen in my life. It's an incredible throne. But Joe, what we think about when you start naming off all those boxers, and what was cool about yesteryear in boxing is you had so many great fighters in a single class. Whether it was the heavyweight division, the welterweight division, it didn't matter. There was so many good fighters, and those guys could rotate, whether it was like Tommy Hearns or Marvin Hagler or Ray Leonard. You had so many guys, and it didn't matter which one was the champion because they were all champions. These guys were all great fighters. They weren't one-hit wonders.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, what happened was that back in the old days when boxing first really started, the NBA was the first organized body for sanctioning championship fights. Then the WBA came into place. Then the WBC came in. Then the IBF. Then the WBO. And there's a lot of other alphabet groups.
Right, and the EIEIO, right?
There's so many out there now. It's something we lose track. Even me, myself. And I'm a historian when it comes to boxing. I myself lose track of who's the champions in different weight classes. Because there's so many weights, so many sanctioning bodies, so many champions out there. You see the guy come into the ring with 4 or 5 belts around his waist, and his quarterback got to help him with the belts. There's so many weights going on. It's very complicated for the fans. The fans don't know. Officials, we don't even know who's the champions.
So let me ask you this, Joe. I mean, look, we've got 70, hypothetically, up to 70 champions in 16 different classes. I mean, look, we understand about how they become unified. You have one champion in one class. Is there any way that we can, never mind the whole ring thing, there's actually 5 classes, right? So 5 champions in every class. My problem is we have too many champions and we just don't have one champion per weight class. I know it's money driven. Is there any way around this crap? Because it is so diluted, it's ridiculous.
Well, you have Mike Tyson, when he was champion, he unified all the belts. In other words, he was champion with IBF, WBC, WBO, and WBA. He was champion for all 4 of them. But not many guys get the opportunity to become unified champions. The sanctioning bodies have to meet with each other to approve for that championship fight to take place, knowing that there's so much money that you can make in that particular fight that they all want to get a piece of the pie, Every sanctioning body says, well, this is our belt. We got to get so much money towards us, and that's where some of the champions will say, I remember one day Larry Holmes took a belt and threw it in the garbage can. He said, which is very unrespectful that he did that. But sometimes people get upset, but there's so many belts out there, and sanctioning bodies want the money. But that's the only way you're going to keep boxing alive. You got to sanctioning bodies keep promoting the fights. Sanctioning bodies have conventions, they have seminars, they have the programs where they help out the kids in the community. So these different sanctioning bodies have their own reasons why they have to get a fee for the belt when you're defending the championship and under the umbrella of WBC, WBA, WBO, or IBF. So, but it's complicated for the fans. There's only a handful of fighters that become unified champions. But that means that you got to fight the best ones out there to get to the elimination and say this is a unified belts.
Now, I know from a financial standpoint the significance of having regional belts. But really, you can have a green regional WBC belt, but you're still not, for example, the heavyweight champion of the world, according to the WBC, because that's not the global belt, so to say. I mean, again, money, money, money. What is the significance of owning regional belts? Because really, what your goal is, you could be ranked number 14 in the world. Let's face it, the number one fighter in the world, the number one boxer in the world, whatever, in this particular weight class. For example, Tyson Fury, right, having the green belt. So you could have a regional belt in the heavyweight division. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's Tyson Fury's belt right there. He is the number one guy in that division or in that weight class, period. How do you justify the significance of the regional belts?
Well, like I said before, right now, Tyson Fury has all 4 belts. He's a unified champion. Matter of fact, you know what? I can't even lose track of that because the other heavyweight Usyk from Ukraine, he's also a heavyweight champion. And I believe he took all the belts. So, right now, there's like 2 champions right there, Tyson Fury and Usyk. They're trying to get these 2 guys to fight each other. But you got Deontay Wilder, who was WBC champion. He was a shot again at the heavyweight championship against Usyk. So there's that. And you get Anthony Joshua, another former heavyweight champion. It's all in the mix right now. It's so complicated. But I just want to see one fight take place, have elimination, and have backbone, have one unified champion. It's kind of complicated when you got so many belts out there.
Right. This way you actually have a king of that particular weight class, period. It gets rid of all of the other crap. It flushes it down the toilet. But I know there are billions of dollars that would end up being flushed down the toilet from pay-per-view and all the other stuff. And so, look, I get it financially, but, Joe, it convolutes the sport. And this is the problem I have. And it's the same idea whether it's even on the Ultimate Fighting. So you have the UFC, then you have the MMA, then you have this acronym and that acronym. It just dilutes it down where I know you're trying to give, or the sport is trying to give other fighters a chance to be a champion in in some organization. But ultimately, if you're going to be the king, you've got to unify everything, and it just gets so damn convoluted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But, WBC is the most respected, the green belt, and they're the most respected Mauricio Suleiman, who's the president now. He replaced his dad, Jose Suleiman, who was there for many years, and they're doing a great job, with the WBC. It's a very, very well-respected organization. I respect them a lot. The other organizations are up there, they're doing their thing. But WBC stands out above all of them because they were considered by most fans around the world as the most legitimate sanctioning body out there. If you got the green belt, you're considered as one of the best in the world, having a WBC belt.
Well, let's say here in our last couple minutes of the segment, Joe, I'd like to have you bring on maybe a guy, one of your friends or one of your colleagues, so they could give their point of view. The top guy at the WBC, for example, let's bring him onto the program. I think the audience would love it as well. And of course, then we'd play the heck out of the episode too. But more importantly, we want to make sure that the audience really understands from maybe the WBC's point of view or from the IBF point of view or the WBO or WBA, whatever. So this way, not only would we understand it from their point of view, but maybe bringing some of those fighters on as well. And you've got a Rolodex that is long as a country mile. And so you could bring some of these people on and have them explain to the audience what it means to them. That's a good idea. What do you think?
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Things can get them on board. I had a California on my show last Friday on the Joe Cortez show, and he spoke about his career as a welterweight WBC welterweight champion. We had a good half-hour show. People would ask all kinds of questions in reference to boxing. We had it beforehand, and I was able to explain to the viewers about Carlos Palomino's career and when he fought with Fedor Benitez, when he fought his last fight against Oscar De La Hoya. He won the championship in 1976. So, it's been a good career. The Joe Cortez show on Friday. You fans out there, don't forget to watch it. And also, the Fair but Firm. Fair but I'm Firm. Don't forget that show. That really stands out above all.
That's good stuff, folks. And guess what? When we come back, we're going to keep Joe over for another segment. Joe, can you stick around with us for a little bit?
A few minutes.
Yeah, okay. I want you to stick around for another segment because we're not done. I want to talk about some of the older guys that are making some kind of a comeback or actually thinking about making a comeback. So, folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here with International Boxing Hall of Famer, our boxing insider. That would be the great Joe Cortez right here on the Sports Circus. And, of course, make sure to check him out at the Joe Cortez Show and Fair But Firm on Fridays on YouTube and Facebook. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
800-852-5186. 800-852-5186. That's 800-852-5186. Paid for by Legal Alert Line.
Hey everybody, this is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances. Maybe someone socked you in the mouth and you need a lawyer. Contact Legal Shield. Maybe they can help. 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in various markets across the U.S. and in hotel TV. Wow. In over 210 Nielsen-rated markets, over 500,000 rooms, gaining 4 million plus impressions per hour. And we are joined by, again, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee, the great Joe Cortez. And Joe, as always, you always get a nice round of applause just because you're here with us today.
Yeah. I got all my fans. I have. You can hear them clapping. They're all clapping.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, it's an honor to be on the show with my favorite firm show here under the umbrella of the Circus Sports, and it's a Sports Circus, and it's always good to have you ask me kind of questions that fans want to know, especially when it comes to boxing. And one of the things I was thinking about was also having classes for young folks out there. People want to learn how to box. Maybe one day I'll have some segment of how to throw the jabs, the right hand, the left hooks, things like that. I think it's good for these kids to learn. I'm also involved, I forgot to mention, I'm also involved with a group called the National Aging in Place. The National Aging in Place got to do with seniors. And I like to see seniors get out there and work out a little bit too, because I saw up in Bobby Gleason's gym a couple of years back. I went to New York, and I was watching the seniors hitting the heavy bag, and I got my friend. She's the chairperson of the Aging in Place here in Nevada. Her name is Deanne Cameron, and she's very much involved with the Aging in Place. And a lot of information that I go to their events once in a while, and I speak to the seniors. I love talking to seniors about being positive and how to keep going forward in life. Like I did in boxing, just because you're getting older and age doesn't mean you got to stop there. You keep going. That's why I keep working out. I like boxing. I like the young kids to learn how to keep themselves focused. But it's something that I love doing, and age is only a number, Physically, I really feel great. I feel like I'm still in my 40s. You can double that up at my real age now.
Well, Joe, it looks like you could step in the ring and maybe get in that welterweight division right now.
Well, I get a little spark of the old flesh. I can still kick some ass if I have to.
That's good stuff.
Let me tell you one thing. The other day, I don't know, you guys heard about the in China, the balloon in China?
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. I said to myself, wow. The other day, I was following a balloon for about 10 miles in my car. 10 miles. Then when I realized it was bursting on my windshield, I said, man, but I keep my mind, always busy, keep myself going. I like to put a little humor to what I'm doing. I'm a go-getter. I like to help people out. I love to be around people like yourself, and Susan, and Deanne, and Sykes. A lot of good people I love. But there's so many people in boxing want to know what's going on behind the scenes in boxing. That's why I put on the Fair Confirmed show to share my viewers out there what boxing is all about.
Yeah, and now, Joe, you happen to have Susan with you. Now, Susan is that an assistant with you and also an on-air personality with you for your program, the Fair But Firm show?
Yeah, well, my Fair But Firm show, I do this by myself on Wednesday. And then on Fridays, I do the Joe Cortez show, which is I do that with my co-host, Susan Pratt, who's my assistant and my co-host of my show. It's going to be something new. We'll bring out new stuff and boxing with Joe Cortez. I talk about from all walks of life. I have individuals on my show. But that's why I like Susan to be on there, because she's very sharp, and we can do a lot to help out in the communities.
Yes, that's the lovely Susan Pratt. We just saw her on camera a moment ago. Let's see if we can get a quick shot of her for everybody that's watching right now. There she is.
Hey, Sal.
Hi. All right. Well, we'll have to bring you in on another screen at another point here on the program as well. This way everybody can get a chance to see you and hear from you as well. Talk more about the Joe Cortez show. I think that'd be a great idea. What do you think?
That would be awesome.
All right, that's good stuff.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we had to get her on camera, Joe. We had to do it. With a couple of mugs like ours, I mean, I got to tell you, I'm not really doing the audience any favors.
On the Joe Cortez show on Friday, because I got kind of like, people say, Joe, you're on the show for so many years by yourself. It's best to bring somebody like a co-host. And watching all these shows on TV, I said, some of these shows that do pretty well, they have a co-host with them. I said, I would do the same. And I met Susan through Diane, with the National Aging in Place group. She works with her as well. I said, you know what? I'm going to bring her on the show. She's a plus to talk about different topics in life.
That's good stuff. All right, so Joe, let me get back to the real quick. I'm going to wrap up the Healing Hearts Foundation. I'd like to see you do something with them because look, there's a lot of kids and a lot of people that are down on their luck that could really use a quick, swift kick in the ass from Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee. But also, you're a champion of life, Joe, and you've seen this for just a couple of years, if you know what I mean. You've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly with people in the fight world and also in everybody's day-to-day world, haven't you?
Right. Well, there's a lot of fighters that have done very good in boxing, but we talk about the ugly side of it. Most of these fighters end up broke, because they're not educated enough to know how to invest their money properly. They don't know, they can invest in real estate or some kind of business. Real estate is a good way to invest, but you have to get a good financial advisor to get you on the right track, to keep you saving them. A lot of fighters, I think it would take about 20% of their savings, of their earnings, and put them into a savings account. By the time they retire, they have something they can live off, or most of them don't.
Well, Joe, and that brings me up to a really interesting topic here. And I think about the older guys, the older champions. We talked about the champions from maybe yesteryear. And so the purses may not have been as large, etc. And maybe you take some people that have had belts before, maybe multiple belts, and they're really hurting. I know one of them personally, to be nameless, and he is actually lacing the gloves back up, and he's going to step in the ring at 50 years of age because he's in tremendous shape. He used to fight as a heavyweight. Now he'll be fighting as a middleweight. I mean, he is really lean, in incredible shape. The problem is when you get these older guys stepping back in the ring, they're still facing guys that are 18, 19, 20, whatever. They're lightning fast. And he says, well, I'm a smarter fighter. But you're not as fast, and you don't pack the same punch that you used to. Is this a good thing for the old guys to get back in the ring? What are the health risks?
Well, let me tell you one thing. I was involved in a fight. The fighter was 45 years of age. And I can mention his name, Big George Foreman. He became heavyweight champion of the world at the age of 45. When he became champion at the age of 45, a lot of retired fighters in all weight classes will say, hey, you know what? I want to come back to it. George Foreman did it. I could do it as well. So, but we have to be very careful. When I was in that ring with George Foreman, it's the hardest punch that he was, when he fought Ali, he fought Norton, he fought Frazier, he fought them all. And, he was a fighter that could damage a lot of fighters out there. But when you're at the age of 45, you're risking, you're not the same anymore. And I'm not in favor of fighters up in age getting back in there. Mike Tyson, the year before last, he came back and fought Roy Jones Jr., 2 retired fighters. And I don't know their financial status right now or when they fought, but they made a couple of $1 million with the exhibition they had. And I remember Mike Tyson called me, to when I was in the hospital, when I was suffering from COVID, he called me to see how I was doing. It was a couple of days before he fought Roy Jones. I told him, I said, good luck with your fight. Be careful, you're not a young fighter anymore, and Roy Jones is not young anymore, but they made a lot of money, and that's good. But I don't want to see fighters go out there and do something and get hurt.
That's my biggest concern. And I see these guys, and they may have the heart, but they may not have the physicality to do it.
Yeah. Well, George Foreman, when he was fighting with Michael Moore, George Foreman was losing every round. I was in the middle of it. I was right there. I could hear him punch back and forth. I mean, they were hard blows from both fighters. But Moore was connecting Foreman a lot more. But the harder blows were coming for George Foreman. So, I didn't want to stop the fight. I would go to the corner, I would check out George Foreman, see how he was doing. And I could see he was okay. Me being the next fighter and being the referee for so many years, I can see when the fighters had enough. And I was watching him close, and then the 10th round came and went knockout punch. A punch right around the world. He knocked out Michael Moore.
Right. And
heavyweight champion of the world.
It's crazy to see that, but when you're packing that kind of punch and you're not only a savvy fighter here in our last 30 seconds, at the end of the day, you look at this and say, okay, there's that lucky punch kind of thing, but George Foreman was a skilled fighter for decades at that point. I got to tell you, when we come back, Joe, I'm going to keep you around for the final segment. I hope you don't mind. There's a lot to talk about. We only have a small amount of time. Are you good with coming back with me?
Come back for a few minutes, yes, sir.
All right, that's great. Folks, we're going to be back here with the great Joe Cortez. Yes, gold glove boxer. He's got the gold gloves and a referee for decades, and he's seen it all. He's smelled it all. He's probably tasted it all as well. And Joe will be back with us here on the Sports Circus in just a few moments. And there's a punch from Joe Cortez. Don't go anywhere, folks. Lots more to come.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
I mean, I've been in there seeing the guys up close.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
It's something different when somebody like myself is separating these guys, separating 500 pounds, in between the 12 rounds, 15 rounds. I used to referee 15 rounds before, and they cut it out before. I wish to bring it back to 15 again and make a comeback and be a referee again. Or maybe a fighter.
Right. Folks, we're back here on the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. live from the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. And folks, we're here with the great Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee. And this segment is brought to you by The Joe Cortez Show. Joe, tell everybody about The Joe Cortez Show.
Okay, the Joe Cortez Show is on every Friday on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. And my co-host, Susan Pratt, will be doing these shows on a regular. I've been doing it for years on a regular basis, and I'm bringing Susan Pratt as my co-host. And we'll be talking about all topics from people from all walks of life. But on Wednesday, like we do right now, on the Fair But Firm Show, people want to know about Joe Cortez. Where did he come up with the catchphrase "Fair But Firm"? Where did that come from? Well, I tell people, I was doing an interview, and the interview people said, Joe, what does it take to be a good referee? I said, well, when I went and watched out the video after I finished recording, I said to the fans, to be a good referee, you have to be fair with the fighter, but you got to be firm as well. That's why I picked up that Fair But Firm. People say, Joe, those words been around forever, but nobody put it together like you did. I'm fair, but I'm firm. And it stuck. When I did the Rocky Balboa movie, Sylvester Stallone said, you have to say, when you have me and my opponent in the ring, the Rocky Balboa movie, say, Joe, you have to say, I'm fair, but I'm firm. And I did, And I did it with Eddie Murphy in the I Spy movie. I did it with Tony Banderas, Woody Harrelson, played to the bone. It's good to be able to use my catchphrase that's been around, those words been around forever, but nobody ever got it together the way I got it. I'm fair, but I'm firm.
That's right, folks. Make sure if you ever use fair but firm that you credit Joe Cortez. Otherwise, you may owe him a few dollars. Right, we don't want to forget that because, hey, at the end of the day, we always got to say, show me the money! That's right. Show me the money. All right. So, hey, Joe, look, in between segments, we're talking a little bit about direction for fights and direction for classes and direction for, well, let's rephrase that. Where do we go from these great fighters going into the ring after they've made a little bit of money, then they go back and disappear? Maybe they disappeared for a while, then they come back and say, oh, I need some money. I'm going to go ahead and fight, maybe do an exhibition, whatever, make $1 million. Do they come back in 5 more years and do the same thing? I mean, don't you think there's a better way and there's a better path for the great fighters? They need a better platform to go and make regular money, just like with what we're doing here. Look, we don't do this for free. Folks, we are entertaining, but guess what? This is business at the end of the day. We've got to make sure that everybody makes a buck. How do we get those fighters that have made money, lost it, made money, lost it? Instead of getting back in the ring when they're 60 years old, how could they make money?
Well, like I said before, they can make their money if they were to be get a sponsor. They use them to be a sponsor for their. Like you see, George Foreman was doing the hamburgers, the hamburger commercial.
Yes, the George Foreman grill. I have one of those.
And then somebody said, hey, we're going to create a George Foreman grill. Then he made him a partner, and they said, the George Foreman grill sold a couple of $100 million around the world. And the guy, he made hundreds of millions of dollars from that. He made more money from that than he did in boxing. So the thing is, if you're smart enough, you have a good agent that can direct you in the right direction, put you in the right position where you can make some money with a sponsor. That's how you make the money. And the fighter like George Foreman, he came back because he just felt that he still had a little spark in the old flame. He all kept himself in shape. He won the title 20 years prior to that. He come back 30 years later, wins it again. That's why it was a good thing, but by the same token, it was a bad thing because all the guys wanted to come back. And I don't want to see fighters who are just finished and got beat up bad in the last fight that they had and come back 10, 15 years later want to come back again. I can't see that. I mean, sometimes mentally you feel like you can come back, but physically you really cannot. It's not a good thing. I'd rather see fighters invest their money while they're coming up the ranks. If you make money, if you don't make enough money, you yourself a second job, another job. That's what I did. I wasn't making any money in boxing. And I said to myself, you know what? I got to get myself a real job because I had kids at the time. I had to support, so I said, I got to get out. So I got out and did other things and made my money in investments, in real estate and whatnot. And, in the medical field. And then I came back as a referee 7 years later. And that's what I've been doing my whole career. So I was smart enough to know how to invest my money wisely so you can live off it when you're retired.
You know,
And
Joe,
that's what these fighters got to do.
Joe, you are one of the smart guys in that boxing world, but there's a lot of guys, they'll come up and you think of the kids coming off the street and then they just have raw skills, mad skills. They're strong. They have endurance. They have all those ingredients. But what hasn't been taught to them are essential life lessons, essential basic money management, speaking skills, the ability to speak without saying or like, or, using filler words and things that make people say, I'm going to tune out because I can't understand it. I can't listen to this because I can't really understand the path. So I would like to see somebody teach these kids and these men how to speak properly to the media. And here's a perfect example. One of my favorite ringside guys, and one of my favorite guys in the ring is Sean Porter. Just love Sean Porter. He gives a really good analysis, but I've sat one-on-one and talked with Sean outside of this whole boxing, and I have to say that he is a very sharp guy. He speaks really well, and he's genuine. I would like to see those skills be brought to the masses for the fighters out there. So number one, they know how to talk to an interviewer. Number two, they have a path beyond boxing. Once their boxing career is over, maybe they could be a ringside analyst or something to the effect. Maybe they could do their own program, kind of like what we're doing here. But I would love to see some concerted effort for the fighters out there that have the ability or the desire to do something on a greater scale and contribute back to their sport or the sporting world, because there's so much insight they bring to the table. What do you think?
Well, I think that's very good. You're talking about a gentleman, Sean Porter, who was two-time welterweight champion. And I had the honor of being on his team. His father asked me to be on the team with them. So I traveled with them with some of the championship fights in New York and here in California. We did some fights. And I was an advisor on the team, and I had a good time with Sean Porter. And I was an advisor for Devin Haney, another young fighter who I met when he was 10 years old. And I told him up in Mesquite, Nevada, I told him, his son, he finished winning a PAL tournament. He was only 10 years of age, winning a junior tournament. And I said, who's your trainer? He said, my dad. Bring him over here. His dad named Bill, and Mr. Haney, this kid, 10 years old, he's championship material, I'd like to see him down the line. He's going to be a champion. 10 years later, he was a WBC champion, won that green belt, 20 years of age, So I was with them, with the advisor for them, and the father and son came over to my house one day with a contract that they wanted to look at, and we discussed the contract and whatnot. And here he is today, one of the wealthy fighters in boxing, and when he's an undisputed champion, I believe he holds 4 of those belts right now. So here's another young fighter that we talked about before, all these sanctioning bodies, but he has all 4 belts, and he's only 23 years of age now. But these fighters, I think that what they should do is get an advisor, or their managers should try to advise them to put so much of their purses away while they're making it. Some of these fighters make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 for a 10-round fight, and they go out there and spend themselves $150,000 on a Rolls Royce, and they're spending money they think it'll last forever. They get bumped off with a couple of fights, they get destroyed, the career's over. Now they got to get rid of the car because they can't keep up with the expenses of the car. They can't keep up with their life. They don't have a house. They didn't buy it. They should invest in real estate. They didn't. So they should get a good management team, or let's start a sanctioning a body, not sanctioning, but start a management type of a group that can manage these fighters' finances. But a lot of these fighters that are from different countries, and they're afraid to invest money, living, let's say, in Venezuela or in Ukraine, and leaving the money here in the United States. They think that they're going to steal their money, so they're afraid to leave money here in this country or invest it properly, because there's so many con artists out there ripping off these fighters. But we got to get somebody to take their money and invest it properly.
Joe, here in our last couple of minutes, I do want to mention, I had one of those new champions in my studio, just a couple, 3 years back. And he had just won a very significant belt, and he rolls up in a new Mercedes with an entourage. And so I didn't say nothing other than the fact that everybody came into the studio. And I'm thinking, you know what? This guy, I hope he makes good decisions. And financially speaking, I have seen the wheels completely fall off. He lost his title just a couple of fights later. And he's been trying ever since to get back. And unfortunately, that money has been essentially flushed down the toilet. Exactly what you're talking about, Joe. And it's crushing to see somebody at the top of the world then come all the way down. Then they're trying to claw back, and their entourage has disappeared on them because he's not giving them money anymore. The whole thing is stupid. Listen, Joe, we've got just about a minute left, and I want you to tell everybody about the Joe Cortez Show and the Fair But Firm Show. Go ahead.
Okay, again, the Fair But Firm Show is a show that I like to talk about boxing, talk about the topic we're talking about right now on the Joe Cortez at the Fair But Firm Show. That's a show that I want all our viewers out there to listen, because everybody knows I've always been fair but firm, but I'm also fair but firm on my show. I want the fighters out there that are listening, managers, trainers, cutmen, doctors, they will listen to what I have to talk about when it comes to boxing, because I've done it all in the game. I've been involved. I have a lot of experience, and I give nothing but good advice to the fighters and to the trainers and to the managers, everybody involved, and especially to the youngsters coming up. And on Friday, the Joe Cortez Show, I talk about different topics in life, not only boxing, but I like to talk about, again, like I said, the National Aging in Place, which is a group that I help out here in Las Vegas, helping out with the senior programs, making sure that everybody tune in to nationalaginginplace.com. You can check them out. Every Friday, they do a show. They have weekly show. They're going to be having a weekly show. On Thursdays. They'll be doing a show on Thursday. Either Tuesday or Thursday. We're not sure yet, but we're going to start doing the show right here from my studio. That's going to be a very good show, because we got to do nothing but how we can direct the seniors in the right direction.
That's great stuff, Joe. And of course, folks, you can catch Joe Cortez right here on the Sports Circus every Wednesday, right here under the big top. And by the way, in case you missed any part of this program, you can always go back to the recorded shows programs, which are found on the podcast link at thesportscircus.com. And those are available on Audible, on Spotify, on Google. They're on Amazon, and pick your favorites. You can't get away from us, folks. We're everywhere. All right, so for the great Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Famer, I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you, in about 23 hours. So just remember to be fair but firm, just like Joe Cortez says.
Take care. See you guys next week.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.